Chapter 18. We have 2 more chapters left. Can you believe it? We've just gone through this entire book, practically. Super excited about this topic. It isn't something that's super brought up a lot in my coaching practice. The title is Let Them Show You Who They Are, which is interesting. I guess she does kind of go into that a little bit, but it's really about dating, primarily about dating. And I have clients now and then that are in the chapter or phase of their life where they are pursuing or looking for someone to share life with now and then. And so I think I can add some value to this chapter, some experience, some knowledge. So let's dive in. I love how she starts off this chapter. What are the last words you want someone to say to you? I think I shared this in one of the other chapters that the question that I ask every single one of my clients for the last almost 8 years on the second session is what, when you're 80 years old, healthy of body and mind, what's going to matter most? So that is a question that I ask on the second session. And everybody's answer is some flavor of connection and memories and experiences. It's, kind of high level, generalized. I love this question too, though. What are the last words you want someone to say to you? And truly, I love you or I forgive you. It comes to mind. But yeah, I mean, if you really want to get down and deep and gritty, it is I love you. So I think that connection is, we all want it at some level, right? You can be the most introverted person and not really care about people, and I still believe that we want connection. Living in Alaska for 30 years, I think that I saw a lot of, I don't want to call it campsites, but places where people are, I guess they call it homesteading or, whatever, but they just kind of like go out in the wilderness and just live off the land or whatever. I saw a lot of places where people used to live for long periods of time and very isolated, and and I would do research and try to figure out who it was or whatever, but just like Gone into the Wild, I believe is the name of that movie, where it documents, I think his name is Jeffrey, I might be wrong on that, where he goes into Alaska and into the wilderness and he tries to live out there. I think he ate some poisonous mushrooms or whatever and actually died. But a lot of times those that I look into that do that are struggling with a lot of mental illness or struggling with a lot of trauma or PTSD or whatever. There's always something running that. So but I think for the majority of us, we want connection. And wanting someone to say I love you, the last words that you want to hear, I think it's not just, they're not words. There's a lot of depth and meaning to it. And I do believe that humans need connection, not at the same level, I grant you. I do believe that love is very powerful. It's a beautiful thing. It feels safe. It feels really good. It feels as though you're not alone. It feels like you're connected with somebody. It's safe is such a big, strong word for me anyways. I think we're all wired for it. I think we all want it, crave it, desire it. Some of us are chasing it, what the illusion of what we think it is our entire lives. And some people do it to an excess. Like, I think all things in moderation are really good for us, and love can be one of those things that it can be a blessing, but it also can tip over into being a curse if overdone. So when we're chasing love, we're searching for it, we're needing it, we're wanting to be seen, valued, feel important, feel loved. That comes from a needy energy. And I think I'll dive into that here in just a minute. I do think that we all deserve to feel love deeply. And then again, working with very few clients that are in the space of dating, which I love that space. I really actually do. I love working with people that are dating, seeing what's out there, testing the waters, and really helping them and coaching them and having the right mindset, the right framework, and I don't want to call it right, but helping them have an approach or an understanding that will, because for example, I've had a client before, several, in fact, that like I go on all these dates, and the commonality that I'm being told, which I am always encouraging anyone that's out there dating to get feedback. What exactly did you see in me that points to that I'm not a good match for you? Really ask these questions. You've got to know what your blind spots are, because if you don't know, you don't know what to work on. And what I've gotten a lot from feedback wise, my clients before they hire me or work with me, is there was no connection. That's the feedback they get. There was no connection. There was no spark. I didn't feel it with you. So what I know to be true about that is we mirror each other. So it's like, if that's what you're looking for, it's connection, intimacy is what I like to call it too. You've got to know how to offer that to them first, and be vulnerable and be open to that. And oftentimes when I work with single individuals that have been dating for a long time and they keep getting this, there's no connection, I don't feel it with you. A lot of times there's these walls up, they're judging me. They're, looking at me in a way that, they're critical, I guess, or judgmental. And so when we get in our head and we start thinking that, the walls come up. There's this feeling of distance, even though you might be sitting next to each other and even holding hands, they're going to sense that there's these huge walls up. So I think it's really fun to work with a client in the thick of it, like really trying to come into figuring out what they want long-term as a partner in life, right? That's the ones that I've worked with, is ones that are dating for the purpose of finding a life partner. That I love so much. Anyways, I think I'll go into that a little bit here in a minute with some of my notes that I took this morning. Now, what I do know to be true is when we're looking and wanting to establish a deep, intimate, connected love is not going to come from wearing a mask, proving your worth, being, I don't want to say fake, but putting on like a facade. Love is not going to come from overperforming and fixing someone. For instance, if you find somebody that you're dating and you go, oh, I love all of this, but then I don't care for all this, but I think I can fix this. If they change these things, blah, 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 right? Then I'll be happy. What I help my clients with that are dating and finding their life partner is really working on themselves first, right? Learning to love themselves, their body, what they look like, their voice, whatever their insecurities are. Let's dive in. Let's pick this apart. Let's really make sure that you're incredibly secure versus insecure, right? Getting really secure with yourself, your body, your image, your voice, your tone, your hair, your whatever. I get people that when they go dating and meeting people and they're in this deep insecurity about their weight, what they look like, their height, all these different things, it just prevents, it's the walls again. It keeps that distance. It prevents them from really connecting deeply. You really can't receive love if you're all up in your head, worrying about all these insecurities, all these flaws within yourself. So we work on the love of yourself, your body, who you are, your identity, being very confident, being very certain of yourself, and where that comes from. Where does certainty come from? Where does confidence come from? And being able to foster that, create that, and add fuel to it. Then it's about building that love of life. Okay, so building up the love of self, building up the love of your life, like loving life, being grateful and appreciative of your life, waking up every day excited to face every single day. Those two things are the foundation to get you into a place of really finding true love or finding a partner in life, because once those two things are healed, the relationship to yourself and the relationship to life, you really are open and available to share a life with somebody. You're open and available to come together and learn and grow together. So if you're not in love with your body and you have all these insecurities, you're not in love with life, like you're really have a poor relationship with those two things, it's not sustainable to fake it in a relationship and fake that you are. It's not sustainable long term. It might last through the honeymoon phase, which might be months, might be a year. But when you love your own flaws, you own them, you find your little quirks and things that you do or say or things, you find them to be funny, interesting, set you apart, unique, and you love them about yourself and you're open to them, you're very secure. So if someone calls you out on it, I don't know if your receding hairline or your double chin or your acne scars, whatever, if you're able to be like, yeah, you're right, that's me, that's part of me, that's who I am, and you own it, and you're just bulletproof, you're Teflon proof, if you will, it allows you to be more real. It allows you to, because you're able to self-regulate. You know that if anybody says anything about you, what you look like or what you're doing with your life, you're secure in yourself. That is imperative before dating, in my opinion. Because if your insecurities pop up throughout your relationship, directed at them, their insecurities are going to pop up too. So, and whenever somebody's really insecure about anything about themselves or their life, they're very guarded. They have this feeling of almost like, I always want to think of like the guards at the castle with the metal, they're just like not touchable. Like they're just so closed off and cold and hidden behind a mask. So they're hiding and they're not open to love and connection. And sometimes people are that way because they've been hurt so bad. I get it. It makes sense that you think and feel that way. The thing is that was one person, and hopefully not multiple people. And if it was, again, that's something that I would look at with you, like what is happening there? Why is there a pattern happening? With curiousness, and how can we learn from that pattern and try something different? So I think maybe another question might be is, what are the words you want to say to yourself, right? So what is it you're seeking in another human being? Maybe is another way to word that. And how can you say that to yourself and own it and be able to look in the mirror and say it and believe it, right? Own it, soak that in, be really attached and believe whatever that is, right? So what are the words you're wanting someone else to say? If you're wanting someone else to say, you're important, you matter, you're enough, that is your job. That is your job, right? To self-regulate, that two self-regulated people that can manage their own emotions and their feelings and can be, if they have you drip into a low mood or whatever, and how to pop yourself out and not depend on someone outside of you or anything outside of you to move you from, I always say moods are on a scale of 1 to 10. So 1 would be really low mood, maybe even like bordering on depression. Or 10 would be, the best day ever. And you're just so excited and elated and things are just amazing. But when in a 5 being neutral. So if you're at a 5 on a normal day and a general day, a 5, which is probably a day that you wouldn't remember, excuse me, and you dip into a 3 or a 4, self-regulation is being able to notice that probably when you hit a 4 or 4.5. And having the tools and skills and the know-how in your own self, how to, excuse me, I have a little tickle in my throat, how to pop from that 4 to a 5 rather quickly. You know yourself, you know your body, you know your mind, you know your inner dialogue, you know what drives and dictates your moods, and you know how to self-regulate. You don't need validation from someone else. You don't need someone else to tell you you're important. You don't need that external, because when we depend on that, we're codependent on it, and we require it. We ask for it. Certainly, it's nice when a partner has that skill and that talent to give you affirmations and deliver it in a heartfelt way, but not everybody has that skill, and we can't expect that from other people. But the thing is it's not sustainable, right? They're not going to be able to be there at every moment and tell you you're amazing, you're incredible, and you're enough. So it's really about self-regulation and being able to believe it. So what it's about, again, having that healthy foundation before going out and dating. That's being able to self-regulate, to being emotionally independent, emotionally strong, having emotional leadership. Because guess what? We're all fragile human beings that are all working on ourselves, whether we are intentionally or unintentionally. Hopefully everyone has got some level of personal growth in their life. And if you don't, that's fine too. I didn't start my personal growth journey until, well, I mean, I did some things in my early 30s, not really knowing. I just signed up for classes. I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. And that was it. But, and I do things sporadically. My real depth of wanting to self-improve myself really didn't start until, well, I would say 32, right in there. That was the start of my self-improvement journey. But everybody's different. I mean, I've met some of my new clients didn't really start until they're in their 60s, never too late. So start when it's important to you, because, it's got to be something that it is important to you and you value. But loving someone so much, and not yourself, I think is a little bit putting the carriage before the horse. We are all, again, fragile human beings trying to find our way. And we don't want to put the power of our life, right? We don't want to give the I call it the light switch of our feelings to another fragile human being. And what I mean by that is if we give someone the light switch to our happiness, right? So, if you say these words and I will be happy, or if you do these things and I will be happy, if you prioritize me, then I'll be happy. And then so paradoxically, the opposite is true too. So if they can make you happy doing all these things, well, if they don't, then they have the power to make you sad. You don't want to give that power to someone else. And you can't dictate what someone else says, does, and thinks, right? That's outside of your control. And believing that. And a lot of times my clients don't even realize, brand new clients of mine don't even realize that they're doing that they're giving the light switch of their emotions to another human being. Another way to look at this, and this is a different metaphor, is it's almost like giving the power of how good or bad your day is to the scale when you weigh yourself in the morning. You're giving your power away to that scale, saying, okay, if the scale goes down today, then I'm in a good mood. If the scale goes up, then I'm going to beat myself up and I'm going to have all this guilt and shame all day long. Right? We don't want to give the power of our happiness away to something outside of us, a scale, a person, a title, the weather, right? We don't want to say, well, if it's sunny today, then I'm in a good mood. But if it's too hot, then I'm not in a good mood. Again, that's not true, and that's not real. That's all thought. I also run in a lot of times with clients that are in committed relationships, long-term relationships, or even not even in a relationship as far as a partnership. It could be even relationships with family members where they love these people so much that they forget themselves. And I know that it often starts off very innocently, and it usually starts off in some sort of coping mechanism. They give a lot, they bend a lot, they say yes a lot, they wait a lot, they put all their needs, wants, and desires on hold. They put everything on mute or silence in the name of love, right? Oh, I had a brand new client not too long ago tell me, well, if I don't do all of these things, then no one else will, and our family will fall apart. Okay, that could be true. We're actually coaching on something totally different, so we didn't pick up on that until future sessions. But it is interesting how we get into this pattern or this belief that I have to do everything, and that's an overperforming in relationships, and that's just a pattern that that they believe they have to do. And a lot of times what ends up happening is resentment builds and burnout builds to some point where things crash and burn, right? Usually there's some big blow up or really just cutting people off, right? It's one or the other. But when we are overperforming and doing so much for other people, we self-abandon. We abandon ourselves. We kind of like the metaphor of in an airplane, putting the oxygen mask on. We put everybody's oxygen mask on but our own, and we pass out due to lack of oxygen eventually. So as fragile human beings that we are, we're all imperfect and we're all struggling in our own way, in our own thoughts and our own feelings. There are certain generations, I think, and maybe even certain cultures, certain areas of the country, maybe even certain genders. For me, when I coach, I really see everybody as a human being. And most of my clients are via phone. So I don't even know what they look like. Certainly I know what they sound like, but I love coaching via phone. My VIP clients have the option of going on video. And these are clients that pay a premium price, but they get a whole package. They get all the things. And one of the options is to be on video. And I kind of love that we don't know what each other looks like. We don't have to worry about looking in the camera. We don't have to worry about what we look like, what we're wearing, any of that. All that stuff is off the table. But what I do think that there are certain groups of people that believe, because they've been taught this or conditioned or believe, again, culture, genders, whatever, areas and decades of that love means sacrifice. And generally, I think that, I want to say it's women, but I think that only reason why I would say that is because I am a woman. I've seen a lot of it, but I really do believe that men sacrifice a lot too, silently, and they take it to the grave. I would say client-wise, I've not actually looked at it, but I think my client base is 50-50 women and men. And I love that. I love the variety. But I do talk to a lot of men that really suffer silently. They don't want to speak up. They can't. They feel like they can't because that's weak, right? So it's, again, sacrifice. Same with women. I can't speak up. The whole I am the glue, right? But there's this concept that that can be thought of as, if I give more, I prove more, I hold on everything tighter, I'm the glue, it will guarantee that the family stays connected, that they are the center of the universe for their family. But what ends up happening is these individuals lose themselves. I've worked with a few that had really big families, intentionally, had 4, 5, 6, 7 kids, whatever, a lot of kids, intending that the family stay really close together, and had these visions and had these expectations, and the kids moved all over the country and just spread out all over the place. I think that's pretty common nowadays, where, back years ago, people stayed in the same town or maybe even on the same street. I think that's a lot different now. But what I see is a lot of mothers, once they hit that empty nest phase where everybody moves out, that they feel insignificant. They feel unimportant, or I can't think of the word I'm looking for. There is a word that can't reach for it, but less than, right? Not of value anymore. And it's just heartbreaking because throughout all those years, they've been pouring into everybody, running everybody around and put everybody's needs first. And they don't even know what their favorite ice cream is. They don't even know what kind of music they like or movies, or they have no hobbies. Like their life was put on hold. And so they're not only disconnected from their family, they're disconnected from themselves, right? And so a lot of people with connection want to know, what are you interested in? What are you learning? What are you fascinated by? What's going on in your life? And when you don't have any of that stuff to talk about, then it's, it's kind of hard to connect with other people. And you don't have to have the same interests. I mean, it can be parallel or different. And I mean, that's what I love to talk about when I talk to people. What are you fascinated about? What are you learning? What are you discovering? What are you spending your spare time on? And I think that applies towards dating too. Or do you have hobbies and interests and things that are fascinating and that you're intrigued by, that you love to just numb out on, that are, really cool and fun and fascinating? I mean, there's so many things out there in this world that you can really get really deep into, whether it be learning how to play a guitar or something that always fascinates me. And I always bring this up because I think it's so cool. Not something I would do, but when people make cakes that look like real objects, like I'm sure somebody's made a cake that looks like this book, like it's so cool to me. I think that's fascinating. Or, so they put the book and then the cake next to it, and then you're like, guess which one's a cake? I think that's fascinating. Like that takes skill. That takes hours and hours and hours of really good practice and artistry, art skills. Making words up today. True love doesn't ask you to put your life on hold. It doesn't ask you to, I think unconditional love too, doesn't ask you to put your life on hold and be a servant. Right? True love is asking for you to show up fully, show up honestly, show up courageously, show up genuine, show up authentic. I think that that's where we connect, is when, even if it's messy, even if it's imperfect. So if you've ever found yourself loving someone so much that you forget how to love yourself, that's probably a situation where you're overperforming in a relationship. You're doing a lot and you're believing that I have to do everything, have to do it all or else. But that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're not enough. It means that you're human. And it just means that we need to do a little bit of internal work and shift that belief, right? It's a lot of thought work and belief work, which that's the space that I love to play in. And it's quite simple. I make it really simple. So the healing is really and I think that's good news. It's internal because it's something that you can work on if you're intentional about it. You're consistent, you're intentional, and you apply yourself, open-hearted and curious. Love, true, authentic, genuine love shouldn't cost you. And maybe I'm not even talking to you. Maybe you know of somebody that has this tendency or this cycle or this pattern. You might think of someone that stays in relationships because it's familiar, and you're like, why do they stay in these relationships? And that could be any kind of relationship, right? And they oftentimes stay because it looks so familiar. It feels familiar. Okay, so our brain is going to move us towards familiarity. It's going to move us away from scarcity. It's going to move us away from things that are scary or fearful or the unknown. And you may know someone currently single that's chasing love, maybe currently, or maybe in the past, or maybe it's you. You may know of someone that really has things backwards and thinking that attention is love or attention is affection, but they might be being manipulated. I also believe that we all know someone that is treated poorly, right? Or might be tolerating or dealing with behavior that's likely very unacceptable. But they stay because they don't want to be alone. The thought of being alone is more frightful than staying. There's some sort of safety. There's something important about staying in that relationship. And oftentimes what they do is they bottle it up, silence themselves to keep the peace because they're terrified of the unknown, right? They'd rather stay in the familiar, hopefully not abuse. If you are in a situation or you know someone, please get them help, or please get help. There is help out there for you. And I guess this is a good time for me to say, everything that I talk about on all my social media platforms, everywhere that I speak or I work with clients, I am not speaking towards trauma. I'm not speaking towards abuse. Those are things that need to go to like a therapist professional or a counselor or a psychologist. That is outside of the scope of a coach. So I thought I would drop that right there. But it's, really what I like to want to remind you is what I like to work with is clients shifting their beliefs in themselves, shifting their belief in their worth, their value, and how good and enough they are, that they are perfect the way they are, and really helping them understand how drama is created in their life, how confusion is created in their life, and misunderstandings when we're dealing with other people, and really helping people stop the cycle of abandoning themselves and choosing people that are likely going to abandon them. Right. So sometimes, especially I've had clients that have come to me, it's actually several times that clients have come to me like, I've been married 4 times, I've been divorced 4 times, and there's a common thread in every single one. Like they tell me it's me and they tell me it's X, Y, and Z. And these are the things that I'm doing, which again, back to what I said earlier, is like getting feedback. What are my blind spots? What am I missing? Why, like the dating thing, what is it that has you thinking and believing that we're not a good match? Like, give me feedback, help me understand. And again, there's 2% truth in anything that they say to you. Got to believe it. It's not a place to get defensive. It's not a place to justify. It's not a place to give excuses. Just say thank you for that information and process it with someone like me, like someone non-biased, someone that's not triggered, not because if your insecurities rise up with whatever feedback you get, that's something that requires a coach or someone to help you navigate through. That's likely something you don't want to navigate through by yourself, because it could again harm that relationship to yourself or your life or both. So, and when those two things are on rocky roads, when your relationship to yourself and life are not solid, it really makes it very difficult to have a relationship with another human being. So again, feedback is great, and have someone help you process that out, unless you've had a lot of self-help work and you know how to coach yourself, which still, even to this day, I got coaching earlier today at, what was it, 10 o'clock today. I got coaching today. So I get coached all the time. Like because I'm in so many different coaching communities and arrangements and agreements, I get some reciprocal coaching now and then as well, where we coach each other. But I have a professional coach as well, and I love getting coaching from a variety of people and helping process and decode puzzles in my world and in my brain. But I will say too, back to the dating in this chapter, dating is very different these days. I've been with my husband 21 years. In fact, I met him, I wasn't looking at all. I wasn't dating. It's funny, I say I met him on the internet, and I kind of did in a roundabout way, but it wasn't on an app or a dating app or a dating site or anything like that. It was for business. And I met him, and it was just like, I really want to get to understand this guy. He has such richness and such coolness about him. I want to know more. But anyways, so I didn't date at all 21 years ago when I had a period of time that I wasn't married. And prior to that, I was in a committed relationship for 11 years. So I haven't done a lot of dating except for high school. But anyways, I do believe that dating is very different these days. I can't imagine what it's like. I could not imagine. I know in the space of coaching and working online in a capacity of finding clients in a way that's, I serve a lot, I do a lot, I offer a lot of pro bono services and presentations and workshops and all these different things that I'm a part of and deeply enjoy it and find it fun. There are times that people reach out and like, hey, let's talk. I want to understand more about coaching. I have this problem. And I get ghosted a lot. I have clients book appointments all the time and don't show up. So I could imagine that it's that times 100. I hear about it all the time. And I also hear too of people that travel, right? Let's say, you're heading to Portland this weekend or whatever, and people will literally go on the apps and like just see what's in that city and click on things and do different things. I don't know anything about the apps, to be honest with you, but they do that. And I'm like, what? Like, if there's somebody, like, probably these people that you're talking to or clicking on, they're probably truly looking for true love. I don't know. Like, is that ethical? I don't know. Anyways, I don't know. Not for me to judge. But I think there's so many misunderstandings that happen through text as well. I have dealt with that with many clients that had me coach them through misunderstandings and miscommunications, misfires, and all sorts of different things. A lot of expectations and communication confusion and meanings and feelings get involved. I've helped a lot of clients navigate that as well. But I also think that the world is moving really fast, right? And our mind and physically. Their attention spans are really short and they're bebopping around to so many different things. I mean, I think about it for me, again, I haven't dated since high school. And I think about all the things I have to check every day, like just to stay up on everything. And I know not everybody does that. For me, I don't have WhatsApp. I don't have a lot of the apps that a lot of people have that they have to check every day. And there's a reason why, like even on my Instagram, there's an automatic message. I don't check this ever. And I do, it's like once a week, but there's an automatic message. I'm like, I wish everything had an automatic message. I will say for me on LinkedIn, I have it set up to where it notifies me an email and I guard my email with my life. So I am very responsive to my LinkedIn. So I deserve a badge. Maybe that's something that LinkedIn can do, is put a badge for those that respond very promptly. I am on a website that does that. They give you a secret special code if you respond fast, but I don't know that people do that. To me, I find that to be very professional. And if you don't, that's fine. That's your thing. That's you do you. But for me, and I think that comes from my insurance background, but anyways, I digress. I think that dating apps, the feedback that I get from my clients that are in single and they're dating, they're on multiple apps and they just said it's exhausting. It's stressful, it's exhausting. There's little sparks of hope or excitement. And then it fizzles. They're like, I'm constantly having to sell myself. I'm constantly having to comes like fake it almost, or and bait the hook, or another term. They don't use that term. I've never had anybody say that, but it's exhausting is what they tell me. There's a lot of small talk, especially if you're doing volume. I hear from the women that the dating apps are very productive, and I hear from the men that it's just crickets. So I don't know. I have actually helped a few clients with their profiles. They've sent me screenshots and I'm like, and only because they were like, they told me you would be like an ideal person that, that I would be of interest to. And so that's why they asked me to do that. But if I was not in their genre, I probably, or not their avatar, I probably would pass on that for the fact that I probably would give them really bad advice. But but how many times can you answer the question, what do you do for fun, without feeling like, and getting shorter and shorter in your answers. Again, ghosting, from what I hear, and giving very short answers and meaningless answers. People are actually starting to take that personal, which again, coaching is a great space to help you navigate that, help you self-regulate, and help you understand that what's being said means nothing about you. It says more about them. And I also hear, like I've talked about with the highs and the lows, there's a great excitement, and hope, and sparks of possibility, and then there's disappointment, and then rinse and repeat. And also where people get really engaged with you, and then I guess that's ghosting, and then don't talk to you for days or weeks or months or whatever. And then there's people that are making meaning out of that. They're saying that's their character, that says something about them. Like, you don't know, like maybe their cat died, maybe their grandma died. And I actually had that happen with somebody that really was really connected, doing really well. They got off the app, they were texting each other, and there was a great dialogue, and it was really hopeful, and it was really exciting, and they were getting to the point of like figuring out a time to finally meet one another. And then she vanished for a couple of weeks, and that's exactly what happened. Her grandma passed away. So it does happen, you don't know. But I think the biggest thing is the surface level, the photos. It's how do you get the photos right? And again, the two gentlemen that I've helped with their profiles, it's their perspective on the photos is one thing, and then what somebody else is seeing, or I do believe photos are worth 1,000 words or 1,000,000 words. What is it? I don't know how the saying goes, but I do believe that people pass judgment. So it's a judgment app. It's not a dating app. Anyways, I digress. But if you want coaching, and you want to, or not coaching, you don't have to get coaching, not pushing that. But if you do want to attract someone into your life, that's what I really encourage is, again, if you have a healthy relationship with yourself, healthy relationship to life, and you're really grounded, what you'll end up doing is you'll draw in and attract and magnetize someone into your life of the similar or same emotional intelligence. To me, emotional intelligence has greater value than IQ by far, like way far. And emotional intelligence has two prongs to it. It's being able to regulate your own emotions, right? Know where your feelings come from. They don't come from the outside, they come from the inside. Knowing how to regulate yourself. So when you feel really high, you know how to stay up there really high. When you're really low, you know how to pull yourself at least up to neutral. You know how to regulate yourself. You're not needy, you're not codependent, or wanting somebody to bring you up and make you happy. The other piece is being able to empathize with others, right? And that's not taking on other people's feelings. That's being able to hold space for them and allow them to process what they're struggling with or what they're going through. Or it could even be excitement too, being able to hold space for someone that's on cloud 9 or feeling really low, and being able to hold space for them, empathize with them, validate their feelings, and ask them, how can I support you? And being able to follow through with that. So to me, emotional intelligence has an infinite number of levels to it. And when you are with someone of the same or similar emotional intelligence, you could be a really strong, powerful couple. Especially if you're at a level that you're both wanting to improve that and increase that and grow that and understand what it is. I just kind of give you guys like a generic overview of it. Do your own research. All right. So I think one of the other things too is, in working with people in this capacity, whether it be dating or any kind of type of relationships, is really being able to slow down, not necessarily physically or maybe a little bit, but being able to pause and respond versus react to anything and everything that goes on in a relationship. Being able to handle hard conversations, right? Being able to know what your insecurities are and work on those and improve those to become a secure person, which I kind of talked about earlier. Being able to navigate feelings of anger or rage or upset or disappointment or frustration, or distrust, being able to navigate those in a healthy way that allows you to, empowers you to move forward without blowing up the relationship and blaming and complaining. You own your own emotions and you're not managing anyone else's, right? Do not get into a relationship where you have to manage their emotions. It's outside of your lane, and that's not possible, not sustainably anyways. It's really about learning how to also listen deeply, listening to understand, listening without defending, like listening just to understand. Listening to learn is another way I like to word it. What can I learn here? What can I learn about myself, about them, about life? What is it that looking to hear something new and different? And if you're not hearing something new and different, you're not learning, it's time and a place to ask questions and get curious. Like, that's one of the things I do with a lot of the conversations that I have. Could be friendship conversations. I especially do it in my coaching conversations, but I reflect on what else could I have asked, right? What other things could I learn from this person? Everybody I come in contact with, whether you're a client or a friend or a family member or somebody that lives in my community, it's like I can learn something from everyone. Everyone has a totally different life experience than myself. Everyone has skills and talents and strengths that are different than mine. So what can I learn from them? And I do believe that we're all imperfect, but in a good way. I think that we're all imperfect and make mistakes. And I think those people that have learned how to forgive and forget, I think, possess an amazing skill. Some people are born with it. Some people have to learn how to do it, and that's okay. I think it takes a level of maturity to understand emotional intelligence, to understand yourself and be able to self-regulate and learn how to love someone deeply without walls, without distance, without bubble wrap. And that's somebody that's stable, right? And that's somebody that's trusting. Think about somebody that you really trust. They probably possess the skill of being very stable. They have this strength about them. They have this balance about them. They have this safety, this warmth about them. You feel drawn to them. And they oftentimes don't say a lot of things. They say very little. I think sometimes when we get really insecure, we start to say a lot, like to try to fill the space. So that's where the self-work, the personal development, and understanding how your brain, your thoughts, your mind, your nervous system, how all these things work and how they play a role in how you're experiencing every single moment comes into play. And they're very important. And they are important in how relatable you are and how deep that you're able to be loved, offer love as well. So if you're in the space of wanting to find a life partner and wanting to love deeply, if you're out there chasing, pursuing, you're begging, you're clinging to anybody that gives you any attention, and especially if you're going on LinkedIn and Facebook and you're randomly friending pretty girls and messaging them, please stop. That's coming from needy, grabby energy. Right. And when we come from needy, grabby energy, I need you, you're not even saying that, but it is coming out in your words. Believe me, I truly get the wildest messages. It's like, what? Please, I want to say so bad. Please tell me you're not doing this to people that you're hoping to connect with. That's got to be exhausting for you. If that is you, that's coming from deep insecurity. And what ends up happening is when you're chasing someone at the very beginning, and maybe they do give you in, right? They let you in the door. You're always going to be chasing them. You're always going to be in that dynamic, in that relationship. You're always going to be in these relationships that are superficial, or, you're easy to manipulate, unfortunately. You're going to be drawing in and attracting people that are going to take advantage of you. But if you're secure, you're grounded, you're safe, you're trusting, kind, compassionate, and again, have that emotional intelligence where you're empathetic and it's sustainable, right? You know how to do it. You've done it. You have a track record of it. And you come from a place of security and lightness and freeness and genuine and authentic. People are drawn to that. That's that safety factor, right? It feels safe to be around you. People really trust those that they feel safe around. Think about it. Think about the people that you feel really safe around, right? They're very grounded. You know that they're like a rock. They're like a mountain. They're like a big teddy bear. So again, everyone we meet teaches us something, even on a dating app. Like, what is the dating app teaching you? Maybe it's patience. Maybe it's teaching you to be less picky. Maybe it's teaching you to open your mind and expand. It's possible. I think that we learn from everyone that we come in contact with, if you're open to it and you look for it. So we're not learning, it's not about what we don't like. Please, if you have the red flag, green flag stuff, throw that away. Please stop with that, or the pros or the cons. That stuff is all really has you conflicted. It has you in a judgmental state. It has you like looking for what's wrong. And that's not going to fare well. It doesn't feel well on the other side either, on the receiving end. So again, I think if you are on the dating app and you are dating, it's really reflecting after each interaction, whether that be on the phone or video or in person. Really get curious at what went well. Overall, what went well for the whole thing, the whole interaction, what went well with them, what went well with you, what can you improve on moving forward, right? How can I learn from this? What do I admire about this other person? What do I find interesting about this other person? What is mysterious? What's refreshing? What's exciting? What's alluring? What's magnetizing? What am I curious about? And what in that interaction had you feel alive or maybe challenged? And are there any patterns that you see in yourself that you've seen in yourself before? I had an interaction recently with someone that I was like, whoa, that was really strange. And it had nothing to do with them. It was all about me. Like, where did that come from? Like my behaviors, like my thoughts, what I said, how I interacted. I was like, that's super strange. I don't believe it has anything to do with them. It was me. It was all internal. Like, what was I thinking and believing before I met with them? What was I thinking and believing during and then after? Like, I sat down and got really, really clear on it. And I got some clarity. I got some answers. I don't think I'm going to talk to that person again, which is fine. But it is interesting what's running the show and what's creating how you feel in every single moment is all to do with you. Period. Nowhere else. And what I do think that, again, I met my husband 21 years ago and I met him and I was like, I really am curious about this person. I want to know more. He's fascinating. He's interesting. There's so much there that it's like mysterious. And he's an open book. Like tells you anything. I love it. But there's just so much more there. It's like this big book that I want to open up and I want to explore. So what I think about that is finding someone that has you feeling a lot like yourself, really grounded, really connected, really interested, really drawn in. in a way that you don't have to put on a performance. You don't have to act. You don't have to wear a mask. You don't have to be a certain way. You don't have to look a certain way or wear a certain thing or fake it in any way. I think dating isn't necessarily about finding the one. It's really about, what do you see in them that you admire and appreciate? Because here's what I know to be true about that. You would only be able to see in them what you possess in you. Now, it might be covered up by a lot of overthinking and analyzing, anxiety, worry, and stress. I can help you with that. I can help you quiet that down. But what I do know to believe, again, everyone you come in contact with is teaching you something. There's something to learn from every single person you meet. And when you meet people, everyone you encounter is teaching you something. They're pointing something out to you. They are a mirror. So notice, especially if you're dating a lot of people, what's lighting you up? What excites you? What gives you that sense of settledness or calmness or peace of mind? And what about it? What about them made you feel safe? Right? I do think that people that possess the skill of being able to listen really well, and what I mean by listen really well is when someone listens really well, they're able to almost like ask questions to understand fully what you're saying and almost like get in your shoes. I think that's a skill that is perishable, that has to be practiced on a daily basis. And I think that that offers a big sense of safety. So if you're getting feedback that says, I just didn't feel connected, I just didn't feel like, it just felt like we were not hitting it off, there was something like between us or distance or however they're wording it, oftentimes it's, are you listening to them? Are you asking questions? Are you reflecting back what they say to make sure you understand what they're saying? It's because if a lot of times have clients tell me like, well, she just doesn't understand. She doesn't listen to me. Well, it's like a dance. You've got to lead with that. So you set the pace, you set the tone, you lead with listening to them and help me understand, share more with me, say more, what was that like? It's simple. Real connection becomes possible when you're very, very curious, like a curiosity of a child. And I think the other thing too is if you're in the dating space, you're wanting to find love, it's like, what are you wanting? Or I guess maybe here's another way to word it. Why? I don't use why very often. That's why it's like, I don't want to say this. I don't use why very much because I feel like why comes from a judgment, but you can use it on yourself and see what happens. If it doesn't work, that's fine. But what is it, or why are you looking for a companion? What does it mean to have someone be a companion or a partner or a mate or a love of your life, life partner, whatever words you want to use? What is the reason for it? Or why? There's a rule of thumb not to go grocery shopping when you're hungry. It's a bad idea. It's a really bad idea. I know for me, my grocery cart gets way more stuff than what was on the list. I spend a lot more money. I bring home foods that I probably could have left for someone else. But it's a bad idea to go dating when you're lonely, when you're bored, when you just want someone to fill your time or make you happy. That language right there is like, that's not true. That's not real. And no one can make you happy. That's your job. So when your mental state is wanting to fill that void, you're going to attract the wrong people. So if you're coming from a place of, I need a relationship, you're not ready. If you're needing a relationship to fulfill and fill some of your needs, that means you haven't taken responsibility for your own happiness. So first, own your own happiness. Take responsibility for your own happiness. Because a really powerful couple is two amazing, incredible human beings coming together, sharing a life together. Instead of depending on one another to lift one another up, because it's a huge anchor that both of you will be dragging around. And you can't manage another person's feelings. It's not possible. Not sustainably. When you rely or depend or become codependent on someone making you happy, you're setting yourself up and them up for frustration, disappointment, conflict, resentment. Did I say that? No, I didn't. It sets you up for so many problems down the road, really big explosive problems. If you're entering into a relationship believing, and I said this at the very beginning, wanting them to change, wanting them to be different, wanting them to make you feel better, or wanting to make them feel better, it's not a relationship. You come from a place of, why can't they do this for me? That's going to create a lot of conflict. It's going to create a lot of tension, and it's an unnecessary burden to place on another fragile human being. So focus on your own happiness. Take care of yourself first and foremost. Put that mask on yourself. Because happiness is not something you can demand or dictate on another human being. It's not something to wait for either. It's something for you to create. It's something for you to discover. It's something for you to share with another human being. And that's fun. Coming together at the end of the day, or coming together at the end of the week, or however it might look for you, and sharing what you learned that day, that week, that month, whatever, and laughing. Sharing what you're learning, sharing what you're discovering, sharing how you're growing, showing how you're evolving, showing how you're overcoming, showing your strength, showing what you're really good at, showing what you're proud of. I know Mel states in this chapter, no one else is going to create the life you want for you. The person you choose to share a life with you, that's why it's important to be choosy. I don't know if I typed that all out right. I don't think I typed that out all right, and I don't want to flip through the book and try to find it, but no one else is going to create the life you want for you, is in essence. And that's so, so true. But what I do know is you can co-create a life together. Again, you really need a high amount, a good bank account of goodwill to be able to navigate the really tough stuff in life, right? There's going to be grief. There's going to be death. There's going to be diagnoses. There's going to be bad news. There's going to be things that are really, really big. And it really requires two self-regulated human beings. It requires two human beings that know how to manage their own emotions and happiness. Do you want to choose someone that is choosing you back? Again, no chasing, no clinging, no begging, no justifying, no making excuses why you stay with someone or you pick someone, no convincing either. If you're doing any of these things, they're not the one. Work on yourself. Choose what is in your wheelhouse. Choose what's within your lane. Choose what's within your control. Work on your values, work on your morals, principles, your understandings. And what I do know to be true is the energy or the spirit that you come from in every interaction, whether it be desperate or curious, needy or empathetic, lonely to grounded. People feel that. It comes out in your words, whether you're typing it or saying it. So how you show up, what you're thinking and believing in every single moment has a great impact on whether you get rejected or accepted, whether you get another date or get ghosted. So really take really good care of yourself. Learn how to have a healthy relationship to yourself in life, because having relationships with others becomes really easy. The relationships you have with others is a projection of that relationship you have with yourself in life. If you're bitter, resentful, angry, upset, frightened, anxious, it's going to come out. It's inevitable. Let's see if I got this one right. Mel quoted, "If someone likes you, you know. And if you don't know, well, then you'll be confused. Let them go. No chasing." I don't think she put that on there. I think that I put that on there. But you just know, like I did with my husband. I just knew. I knew. I was like, this guy is such an amount of life experience, knowledge. It just felt so warm. It felt like a big warm blanket. All right, so a metaphor. So trying to make a relationship work is like trying to put on the cutest pair of shoes that you just love. The shoes that I love are always 1 to 2 sizes too small for me. I think it's just they look so cute. I'm like, oh, I wish I could put those on my feet. But let's say trying, the word trying, you know me, if you get coaching from me, I'm always like, drop the trying and just do it. But trying to make a relationship work is like trying on a cute pair of shoes that are half a size too small. They're not the right fit. Let them go. All right, guys, this was kind of a shorter chapter this week. I did make it an hour, so I did good. We don't have a lot left. This is 18 of 20. There is another book that I have in mind. I still have to find it. I looked for about 5 minutes last week. I'm going to continue to look for it. I have a couple other backup plans, but there might be a bit of a delay if I have to get another book, because I really want to have the hard copy. I like to be able to show it. I like to put little markers and highlight them and everything. So anyways, I'll keep you posted. Anyways, talk to you guys next week. See ya. Bye.